Hello, I'm Raina Gilead, and this is episode 18 of the Luster Leadership Series. This series explores AEC industry trends, diversity, equity, and inclusion, while highlighting the voices of leaders with a special spotlight on women in the industry. In the engineering sector, a study by the Society of Women Engineers, SWE, found that women represented around 13% of the engineering workforce in the United States as of 2021. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, women in construction represent just over 10%. This underrepresentation extends to leadership in the industry, with only 16% of AEC firms employing women in C-suite level positions. Well, today, we are honored to be speaking with a part of that 16%, industry leader Darlene G. Darlene is a senior vice president with HNTB Corporation located in the San Francisco Bay Area. She is part of HNTB's National Business Development Team, working with HNTB staff throughout the nation on winning major transportation projects. Previously, Darlene oversaw HNTB's Bay Area offices for 6 years. Ms. G has more than 40 years of experience in consulting engineering for public and private sector organizations in the San Francisco Bay Area. She specializes in transportation and has had responsible charge for the planning, design, and construction management of over $10 billion of new and rehabilitated Bay Area transit, rail, highway, and bridge projects during her career. Incredible. Additionally, Darlene is an elected official currently serving as mayor for the city of Orinda, California. She has been on the Orinda City Council since 2015. Darlene is committed to supporting the engineering and public works industry, particularly programs that benefit and support women, diversity, and young professionals. She is currently a co-chair of the Bay Area Council's Transportation Committee and is a past president of the San Francisco chapter of the Women's Transportation Seminar, WTS. The American Road and Transportation Builders Association, ARTBA, honored Darlene in 2016 with the Ethel S. Birchland Lifetime Achievement Award for her 35-year-plus commitment to the transportation industry, including the advancement of female leadership. Darlene was also honored as the WTS San Francisco Bay Area Chapter Woman of the Year in 2017. Darlene, thank you so much for being here today. Quite the accomplishments.
Thank you so much, Raina. It's so nice to talk to you today.
Yes, well, we've been looking forward to this. You are a big fan at Luster, so we're very happy to have you here. And I'm just going to jump right in because I'm so excited to pick your brain and have someone with your accreditations here. So I'm going to just kick it off with my first question. I would love to know, how has it been being a woman in the AEC industry? And if there are any particular challenges, maybe even challenges that are specific surrounding just transportation and the transportation industry for women?
Oh, I would tell you, Raina, it's been a long, wonderful career, but it's had its moments. And I would say that based on your statistics, which are very real, unfortunately, I believe engineering still ranks as perhaps the most male-dominated profession in the US. There is an awful lot of my career that I spent as being the only woman in the room, the only woman at the table. And that has its challenges, right? I mean, we all know what it feels like to feel like a bit of an outsider or to feel like, you don't belong in some ways. It was even much more challenging when I was younger, right? As you're trying to learn and build your career and find the things that are going to help you succeed. It's challenging, and I would still say today it's challenging, but I think it has gotten better. At least the numbers that you cited means that women in the industry, for the most part, can find what I really didn't have when I was a young professional, and that is mentors that were women, role models that were women. Although I do want to say that I was very fortunate that I had quite a number of wonderful men over the years that did help me, help mentor me, help my career. And we're very open-minded at a time when, women were a very rare entity in the industry. So today, I think the industry is much more receptive and recognizing of the value women bring on a lot of different levels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, times are changing, and again, you are a representation of that change, you know? So, even though I know that there are still a lot of steps that could be taken. So, what steps do you think the AEC industry should take in order to try to attract more women?
Well, I think there's some of the usual type challenges that have historically affected women in all industries, right? I mean, many women, not all, but many women do reach a point in their life where they're trying to balance family and work, right? And sometimes the engineering industry has not been very family friendly to women, because let's be honest, it's an industry that was so male dominated back in the years when it was very, very usual and normal for men to have a stay-at-home spouse and raising their family, and life was just the way, it was portrayed and lived in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, maybe the 70s. But as women became a bigger part of the workforce, I think, again, one of the things that certainly helps is more flexibility, more recognition, and more recognition of the fact that the family years are only a certain portion of anyone's career, right? Children grow up very fast, and having some flexibility at certain points in your career without having that set your career way back somehow, I think is really one of the most valuable things that any business can do in terms of attracting and encouraging women in this particular industry. Um, and I think, also, recognizing the day-to-day environment. I think the workplace of today is so much better than it was when I was younger. There, obviously, we know there's all kinds of rules these days, and much different cultural behavior of how people can be treated in the workplace. And I think that's important, but I think it needs to go that next step, right? If you really want to bring women into your organization, which has so much value, you need to not just be following the rules, you need to be welcoming. You need to know what the word inclusion really means and to understand the value that everybody can bring on your team. And I think when you have that kind of environment, I think the the incredible upside to business, and I've always found this in my management career arena, is women are often more loyal, oftentimes can be harder working, more willing to, just really be in it for the long haul. And that can be very important to a business. Not experiencing a lot of turnover is valuable. So I think women are incredible employees and incredible team members. And when businesses really recognize that and show that appreciation, I think, they get a very good reward from that.
Oh, wow. I obviously absolutely agree. I think that women definitely bring so much to the table. And you spoke about loyalty. I think also, yeah, now there's so much value in an alternative perspective. And I think that women obviously not just have that, but also think a lot more like communal, think about the community at large. I think that's just something innately that's in women. So I would love to know, like, what advice would you give a young woman who's looking at this career path? This is another reason why we're doing these interviews, is that, there are women who say, hey, I think I might be interested in this, but I don't know where to start, or I don't know how to get involved. What advice would you give them?
I would encourage them, and I would encourage them to explore it. Find, again, women are often good to other women that they believe are, interested in. But I would encourage them, if you're really at that stage when you're just considering it, find some women to have informational interviews. Really talk to them, find out what their career is like, what they're working on, what the industry includes. One of the things that the AEC industry is challenged by, I think, at the college type environment is a lot of students and a lot of younger professionals simply don't realize the breadth of what our industry touches and how many interesting problems in today's world of environmental science, climate, resiliency, mobility, equity. There are just so many aspects to what used to be thought of as a hard science, where you're doing numerical calculations. And of course, the engineering world still includes that in many arenas, but there are all of these bigger issues that make the world of management and design and planning and environmental aspects to our industry so interesting to a lot of people. And I think a lot more women would be interested in it if they understood more about the breadth. So I would definitely encourage informational interviews and doing research. Find out, find some real life examples of what people are really doing.
That's excellent. Yes, exactly. What better way to find out if something is for you but to, talk to someone who's doing it
Yeah.
and seeing if, getting some more information about it and seeing if it fits with, your personality. Yes, I feel like one of the major things that I always have a question or sort of like, ooh, I would love to know about women, of your like, success is how you balance all of this. I mean, you are the mayor of Orinda, California, so which is incredible, and a councilwoman for many years. How do you find this life balance? I'm sure you've also mentored and how do you find a life balance as a senior leader at HNTB? Being the mayor, having a rich family life. How do you juggle it all?
I guess I would say that you have to focus on what's important. I always focus on what's important in the near term, and I never stop thinking about the long term, right? So I think you have to find things that satisfy you, that fulfill you, that make you happy. I love being busy. I also love having some downtime. So, I listen to myself. I know when I need a good vacation. And, I think paying attention to your self-care is always important. Don't let the speed of how you're working take everything away from you in terms of enjoying a walk or, knowing how to balance your busyness with things you really enjoy. And when you're right at the heart of a young family life, that can be extraordinarily challenging. I have the advantage of my sons are grown up, and so I have a bit more time to share amongst my work and volunteer activities and then myself. So but I think recognizing that all of it's important. And as you know, and a lot of women that might listen to this know, women are the worst when it comes to paying attention to themselves, taking care of themselves, finding time for themselves. And no matter how little it is, if it's reading one chapter of a book a day, if it's taking a 10-minute walk, if it's going out in your garden, you just have to find those things that sort of recharge you and help provide some of that balance, even if it's in small doses.
Right. Absolutely. So, with all of the years of experience that you have seen, I know, tons of changes within the industry. Um, I would love to know in terms of like what programmatic level changes have you seen clients ask more from the industry or more of the industry, and if there's like a struggle to deliver these different changes, because obviously like the world changes, business changes, clients needs change. So can you speak a little bit to those changes?
Yeah, I definitely think, and again, Raina, this is why I think women should give ever more consideration to this industry. And that is one of the things I've seen over the years is what clients are asking for, what they need. is a much broader range of skills. That, people with communication skills, people with collaborative skills, people with, community building skills and outreach skills. And I just think there's so much more opportunity for being asked to provide such a much bigger um, breadth of services. It's very rarely does any firm in the AEC industry anymore, you know, sign up to design a bridge, and that's all the scope is. They may be designing the bridge, but they probably are also having to outreach to the community, represent the agency in meetings, provide all kinds of other collaborative coordination with other agencies. I mean, there is going to be a scope that is much, much broader than it was in my very younger career days. And part of that, Raina, is simply because, um, not only is the world more complex and more demanding, but client organizations themselves have changed. They're not quite as large as they were once upon a time. They're very resource constrained sometimes. So there's a great deal of opportunity on the consultant side to provide so much more than we did once upon a time.
Right. Wow. Well, you are obviously, I mean, it goes without saying, a highly intelligent person. And I would assume that some of that has to do with having time to just strategize and think and observe and take in what's working and what's not working. So I would love to, this is one of the things I love to do, just, spending time thinking, what is possible, what the possibilities are. How much of your time do you spend thinking, strategically? And if you could, would you increase your strategic thinking time?
Well, I've been fortunate, Raina, that over as I've as I've grown, as I've matured, as I've gotten more senior positions, I've gotten the luxury of being able to add more strategic thinking time. I think in the days when I was really running offices and managing hundreds of people, there's an awful lot of daily firefighting that goes with that. And you don't often have the time to sit and think as much as you probably wish you did or maybe should. Now I have a role where I get to be much more at a strategic level in which, in reality, that's what I'm really getting tapped for is that sort of strategic level thinking. So I enjoy it enormously. And I enjoy it in my elected life as well, because again, it's trying to strategize, what you can do for the community, what you can do with limited resources. And I love that. I agree with you. I don't think you can do too much of that because thinking ahead, thinking it through, bouncing ideas off people, brainstorming, those are all incredibly powerful activities, and I think they make a huge difference. So when people feel like they're not getting enough time to do that, I think there's a phrase in our company where when things get so hectic that people aren't thinking, it's um, you know um, you know, stop and do nothing. And just pull back for a minute and think, because sometimes that's actually the right thing to do.
That pause is very important, Yeah, even I always feel like it kind of lets the brain reset. It's like when you're trying to think of something, you have to just stop and then it's like, oh, it came to me. So that's excellent advice. Um, what are you most proud of that you have accomplished since being senior vice president and responsible for business all over the US? And I asked this question because we've already gone over, I mean, you've got these awards, you've been, honored, but I always find it is interesting, someone who has been honored a lot by the public, by organizations, what they're the most proud of, of themselves. So what would you say is you're most proud of your accomplishments?
That's my favorite question, Raina, and that's my easiest question to answer. And this is absolutely what I am most proud of. I have had years and years where I've had the opportunity to help women and minorities advance. I was in roles where I was able to do hiring, I was able to hire women, I was able to take a chance on women, I was able to promote women, I was able to do the same for minorities. I was able to be in leadership positions in professional organizations that also focused on that. I just had, I've had a great opportunity to try to mentor, to be available, and mostly to promote. I had the ability to do that, and that has been the most rewarding. The thing I look back on and say I'm really happy about. I had a woman that come up to me the other night, in which she said, I just want to thank you again for taking a chance on me. And when I reached out to you and you didn't know anything about me, and we sat down and talked, and I offered her a job. I mean, to me, that's what I really look back on and feel like, yes, it was all worth it. I may never know all the results, but I do know that I worked very hard to give people opportunities that historically hadn't had them. So.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. I mean, and especially again, we're at Lester, we're so inspired by you and your efforts to elevate women, elevate minorities, people of color, and being a real leader in that, and especially in a greatly male dominated world. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, we were very excited about this interview. So again, thank you so much for being here and just sharing with us your expertise.
Well, I so appreciate it. I enjoy everyone at your firm. I have always enjoyed working with everyone, and it's just a great pleasure to be able to chat with you about something that, I really care about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Darlene. Yeah.